What was that? That was a whole week of tech news rushing past you in the blink of an eye. There's so much to talk about this week, like Valve's Steam Deck announcement, CPU leaks from AMD and Intel, and a whole range of new streaming gear from Elgato, including their new Facecam, that I didn't even need to bring up GPUs this week. Crap, I just did it anyway. But that will be the only mention of graphics cards in this episode, except that one I just did, I promise. Okay, let's move on to tech news.
Excellent!
Today's video is brought to you by Micro Center, one of my favorite places to buy PC parts, whether it's online or at one of their 25 retail stores in the US. They have consistently competitive prices and an excellent selection of PC hardware and other tech goodies, as well as the custom PC builder on the Micro Center website. Use it to spec out your rig and it will show you parts in stock at your nearest store while ensuring compatibility with your selections. Then you can pick up or have their pros assemble it for you. So click the sponsor link in the description and don't forget to sign up for the free in-store gift.
We begin this week with a couple rumors about next-gen CPUs from Intel and AMD. Team Blue is working on 12th gen Alder Lake CPUs that are expected to launch towards the end of the year, and on Thursday it was reported that a contributor in the Zhihu forums in China has posted core counts, cache sizes, and clock speeds for 3 of the top Alder Lake SKUs, the flagship 12900K as well as the 12700K and 12600K. Allegedly derived from qualification sample CPUs sent to board partners, which would be a legitimate way to discover this info, the core counts list high-performance Golden Cove P cores alongside high-efficiency Gracemont E cores, or you could just call them big and little cores, a much easier naming scheme that's carried over from ARM processor design. The 12900K has 8 big cores and 8 little cores, with the biggins peaking at 5.3 GHz on 1 or 2 cores with a 5 GHz all-core frequency. The little cores run at 3.9 GHz peak or 3.7 GHz all-core, and the 12900K has 30 megs of L3 cache. All 3 chips have 2 power limits listed, 125 watts for PL1 and 228 watts for PL2. The 12700K has 25 megs of L3 cache with 8 big cores hitting 4.7 GHz all-core and 5 GHz max, and 4 little cores that get up to 3.6 and 3.8 GHz respectively. Finally, the 12600K has 20 megs of cache, 6 big cores running at 4.5 and 4.9 GHz, and 4 little cores that will run at 3.4 to 3.6 GHz. Alder Lake S desktop CPUs are expected to support PCI Express Gen 5 and DDR5 and are based on Intel's 10nm enhanced superfin lithography. They'll slot into new LGA 1700 motherboards, and it sounds like Intel is still planning to launch them in late 2021. AMD's next-gen CPUs will be based on their new Zen 4 microarchitecture. More info has been teased by infamous leaker Executable Fix on Twitter, or XFi as we affectionately call them here on Paul's Tech News, indicating a max core count of 16 for the mainstream desktop parts, codenamed Raphael. That's the same as Zen 3, mind you, which would suggest that Zen 4 chiplets will also sport 8 cores each, and AMD won't be bumping up their flagship CPU's performance by adding more cores and threads. Instead, there will be gains from the enhanced 5nm fabrication that will probably be handled by TSMC, as well as DDR5 support, a newly designed I/O die, and possibly a bump up in TDP. Other infamous leaker Patrick Schur also tweeted this week that Raphael TDPs will range from 65 watts all the way up to 170, a significant increase over the 105 watt designs of the 5900X and 5950X. Going from 7nm down to 5nm should reduce power usage, so why the increased TDP? It could just be higher clock speeds, which would be nice, or it could mean that there's an RDNA 2 based iGPU that will be paired with some or all of these models, increasing power draw and therefore requiring more cooling. However things play out, Zen 4 probably won't hit the market until mid to late 2022, so there's lots more time for us to scrutinize the leaks and try to figure out what AMD has planned. Valve dropped some big news Thursday when they announced the Steam Deck, not to be confused with the Stream Deck from Elgato, I'll get to that in a moment, but the Steam Deck is a handheld gaming device manufactured by Valve, which will ship in December of this year for a base price of $400. Pre-order reservations kicked off on Friday, allowing prospective buyers to plunk down $5 to save their spot in line for the unreleased, unreviewed unit, and predictably, the Steam website was snowed in Friday morning at 10 a.m. when reservations went live. The base $400 unit only includes 64 gigabytes of eMMC storage. The $530 mid-tier offering bumps that up to 256 gigabytes of NVMe SSD, and also adds a community profile bundle, and both of those are sold out till Q1 2022 already. Actually update Q2 2022 for the mid-tier unit. Top SKU is $650 and includes a 512 gig NVMe drive, nicer glass, an exclusive carrying case, and more digital rewards. That one's already sold out till Q3 2022. One interesting aspect of the Steam Deck is that it uses a custom chip provided by AMD, with 4 Zen 2 cores and 8 RDNA 2 GPU compute units. Kind of like a Ryzen 3300X CPU strapped to 20% of a Radeon 6700 XT, if you follow me. That should be plenty to power the 7-inch 1280 by 800 screen, which also has a 60 Hz refresh rate, and there's also 16 GB of LPDDR5 RAM, as well as an SD card slot for storage expansion. It's a portable computer, basically, so you could install your own OS if you want, but Valve is shipping it with SteamOS 3.0, which is based on Arch Linux with a compatibility layer called Proton that will still allow non-Linux games to run. One other interesting tidbit that surfaced Friday was that Valve accidentally revealed pre-order sales numbers via Q metadata that could be pulled from Steam's HTML. Pavel Jundik, apologies if I'm mispronouncing that, creator of SteamDB, tracked the numbers for about 90 minutes until the issue was fixed, showing over 100,000 global pre-order reservations, with about 2/3 being the top $650 version with 512 GB of storage. There's a lot more to be said about the Steam Deck. I've only scratched the surface here, so check the description for links to additional articles and videos if you would like more details. Elgato could have timed the announcement of their new Stream Deck Mark II better. It came just hours after Valve's Steam Deck announcement, causing just a bit of confusion. Elgato actually announced a raft of new products though. The Wave XLR is a USB interface for XLR mics with anti-distortion, a built-in preamp, and mixing software compatibility. There are a couple Wave mic arms to hold your mic near your talking hole in a steady and aesthetically pleasing fashion. There's that Stream Deck Mark II, of course, that has pretty faceplates now, and there's the Facecam, a webcam with actually not terrible camera quality, 1080-60 resolution, and Elgato prime lens assembly and USB 3.0 connectivity. The software Elgato made for it has also been well received, allowing you to set zoom, exposure, white balance, etc., and then save it to the camera, so you don't have to run software again and adjust those knobs every time you plug it into a new device or rearrange your setup. It does cost $200 though. If you're into streaming or looking for a webcam upgrade, there's more info on Elgato's new gear via the links in the description. And now let's do a nice easy transition over to some semiconductor fab news. Hooray! Semiconductor fab news. Intel might buy GlobalFoundries for $30 billion. That's actually kind of crazy. Intel is in early talks with GloFo owner, the Mubadala Investment Company, according to the Wall Street Journal, so regulatory approvals and other red tape would still need to be cleared. But it's a move that has raised eyebrows in the industry. That's because, if you know your tech history, GlobalFoundries was AMD's fab back in the day, which they spun off starting in 2008 and fully divested from as of 2014. Snapping up GloFo's fabs would give Intel an even broader manufacturing base, supporting a wider range of technologies and process nodes, which is what CEO Pat Gelsinger wants, so this kind of makes sense. I think AMD should respond by buying the rights to the old Intel Inside chime sound, though, and using it for new Ryzen CPUs. Samsung, meanwhile, is also considering a boost to their manufacturing capabilities with a new factory here in the US. They're currently seeing what kind of tax breaks they might receive in return for a $17 billion investment in a new plant in Texas, specifically not in Austin, where they already have one. Plus, I heard Austin can be kind of weird. Williamson County is the current location being considered. The fab would create an estimated 1,800 new tech jobs, and they would only tax the plant for up to $80 million of its value for the first 10 years, rather than the $4.35 billion it would actually be worth. Way to promote business, Texas. That tax money would probably have just been wasted otherwise. Oh, actually, it looks like it would have gone to the local county school district. Who needs school funding for your kids when you can get a job at a new Samsung fab, though? Samsung made clear that they're also considering locations in Arizona, New York, and South Korea for the new facility, which they want to break ground on in Q1 2022 and spin up by the end of 2024. Oh good, it's time for Tech Briefs, the high-efficiency portion of Paul's Tech News. AMD's Fidelity FX Super Resolution is now even more accessible for devs and home modders alike, as source code has been published to GitHub and is available for download for free by way of an open source MIT license. Game support is expanding fairly quickly thanks to FSR support in Unity and Unreal Engine 4, and later this month, Edge of Eternity and Resident Evil Village should be updated to support it as well. Researchers at the University of California San Francisco Medical School have allowed a paralyzed man nicknamed Poncho to think words that then get displayed on a screen, thanks to a rectangular sheet of 128 electrodes wired into the speech areas of his brain. It took 50 practice sessions over about a year and a half to train AI to recognize when Poncho is trying to say one of 50 words, aided by autocorrect and language prediction with a 75% success rate with single words and more than 50% accuracy with sentences. An incredible breakthrough for anyone in Poncho's situation, to be sure, and it moves us all one step closer to that scary Black Mirror episode with the brain implants. Not that episode, the other one. Speaking of cool implants, TSMC pitched a new way to cool processors by implanting water cooling channels into the silicon itself, allowing more effective cooling with stacked die configurations. On-chip water cooling might sound dangerous, but the performance was far and away better than any of the other methods that they tried, allowing 2.6 kilowatts of heat dissipation and keeping the test unit 10 to 20 degrees cooler than the other two methods. Well played, TSMC. But now try adding on-die RGB, and then we will truly unlock maximum CPU performance. Microsoft wants to put Windows in your Windows with Windows 365, a virtual Windows machine that you'd save to the cloud to access from another device, like a tablet or a cell phone, or of course, another Windows PC. Launching August 2nd, and based on their Azure Virtual Desktop service, this probably has a lot more to offer businesses and IT departments than home users. Get your staff cheap client tablets, and then scale and manage their actual desktop experience in the cloud, where you can assign up to 8 virtual CPUs, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and 512 gigabytes of storage at launch. No word on pricing until August 1st, though. And Netflix is adding games to its subscription service starting sometime in 2022, says Bloomberg, and they've hired former EA and Oculus VP Mike Verdu as Vice President of Game Development, which seems to indicate that they're developing games. I'm kind of hoping for a Tiger King simulator, but game services as a subscription do have their pros and cons. Netflix might pay developers based on how long people play their game rather than unit sales, which could encourage more thoughtful and engaging design choices, or it could just prompt grind fests designed to keep gamers glued to the screen as long as possible. Still too early to judge, but hopefully this doesn't mean that Netflix is going to be publishing season 1 of some awesome new game and then just unceremoniously canceling it a month later. So there you have it, guys, a light smattering of tech news for the week. Closing instructions. Your feedback is always welcome, so please feel free to leave me a comment down below. And while you're down there, all the articles I talked about today are linked in the description if you're interested in further reading. And you can also click the like button if you enjoyed this video. You can check out my store at paulshardware.net for a selection of excellent merchandise options, like the glasses and the shirts and all. And subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more videos like this one in the future. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you in the next one. It's just water, but it's still good.